Good afternoon. I'm Brian Manning, and I'm glad to see you here on the Asylum Answers show, where I'm going to answer your questions about winning asylum in America. So go ahead, leave them in the comments. Actually, wait, no. Don't put them in the comments yet. First, say hello in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. Good afternoon, good evening. Love to see where you guys are at. Say hello and let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Who do we have with us this afternoon? Hey, Mommy, good to see you. Mommy503, thanks for being with us. Good to see you. Edwin, glad you're here. Welcome over on, let's go see what's going on over on TikTok. Good afternoon on TikTok and on YouTube. We got Los Angeles. We got CU says hello. We got Dog Mum coming in from Los Angeles. Dog Mum, I like that. Mustafa says what's up. We got CU says I'm from NYC. Nice. Uh, Yep, Mustafa, I'm going to answer your question in just a second. We got Tony Martinez, 74, over in Houston. Welcome, Tony. I'm glad that you are here checking in from Houston. So we're based in Houston, by the way. My law firm is based in Houston, but it doesn't really matter because we help people all over the country. Like, it doesn't matter where you live. We have clients all over, okay? Lots in Texas where we're based, but we have lots of clients also in California, tons, really. New York a lot, Florida a lot, Chicago, Denver, Atlanta, everywhere in between. All right, we can help you really anywhere in the country, so it doesn't matter where you are. All right. Hello, good afternoon, good evening. Say hello over on YouTube. Thanks for being with us on the Asylum Answer Show. I'm Brian Manning. I used to be an asylum officer, but now I'm an asylum lawyer, and my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Okay? That's what we do all day, every day. We focus on asylum. All right. I want to know what questions you have about winning asylum in America. So let's go to this one first. Brian, talk please about experience for interview you've been talking about. Oh yeah, that's I know what you mean by that. So let me do this. The question is this. So what is the mock asylum interview experience that we offer, and how can I help you? Good question. Look, the most important part of your entire asylum case is how you testify, the job that you do in testifying and explaining your story and answering questions on the day of your asylum interview. That means that the most important thing that you can do to try to win your case is prepare for that testimony. It's practice and prepare. Learn exactly what you need to achieve with your testimony, learn what questions you're likely to get, how to articulate your story, what things the officer really cares about, and then practice doing those things. Practice giving the officer what they need and presenting your story in a clear, compelling way. Okay, so the preparation is the most important aspect of your entire case. We offer a service meant to address just that. Look, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is hire my law firm from the beginning of end in your asylum case. But for many people, that's just not an option. We're proud to offer this, what we call the mock asylum interview experience. Sometimes we just call it the experience for short. We offer this as a standalone service, which is much more affordable than hiring us for your whole asylum case, right? So if maybe your resources are limited or your time is limited and you're thinking, how can I invest and get the biggest return on that investment in terms of maximizing my chances for asylum success, this is it, the mock asylum interview experience. We're going to do a 2-hour mock interview with you. An asylum lawyer is going to do this with you. Then they're going to do a 30-minute debrief session with you to give you feedback on how you did. And the idea here is that after this, you'll feel like you've been there and done that. You feel like you've done the whole thing, because what we're going to do with you really is a realistic simulated mock interview from beginning to end. Okay. In addition to that, we're going to give you video recordings of the 2 sessions, AI summaries of them, transcripts from them, and a few other training materials that's going to give you the best possible chance of winning your asylum case, I believe. That's it. That's the mock asylum interview experience. It's the heart and soul of it is the 2-hour mock interview session. We start with giving you a little bit of context about sort of what to expect, what happens on the day of the interview, logistics and things like that, practical stuff, and then we're going to tell you. We're going to talk with you about the strategy, about what you're trying to achieve with your testimony in light of what the officer truly cares about. There's 3 things the officer really cares the most about, and we're going to help you to identify what they are and understand how to use your testimony effectively to address those 3 things appropriately, and to just show them why you should win asylum. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And then that's a 2-hour mock interview session, and then a 30-minute debrief or sort of follow-up and feedback session where we give you feedback on how you did and tips on how you can improve your testimony just by trying to be clearer and more impactful in the way you tell your story, and make sure that you're focusing on the right things. And yeah, and then we're going to give you the study materials for your case based off of these sessions, and some other trainings that you need to watch to be fully prepared for your asylum interview. That's what we want to do with you in the mock asylum interview experience. But look, honestly, not everyone qualifies for this. You have to do a consultation with us first and see if you qualify. Okay. Go to winasylum.com to schedule this consultation. I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay. Winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. Winasylum.com. If you want to do a consultation with us to see if we can help you in your case, or you want to talk about this specific service that we offer, this mock asylum interview experience, do the consultation with us first to see if you qualify and to learn all about it. Okay. All right. What questions do you have about winning asylum in America? For those who just joined in the last couple minutes here, I'm Brian Manning. I used to be an asylum officer, but now I'm an asylum lawyer, and my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. So let me know in the chat, what questions do you have about winning asylum in the United States? Navjot Singh says Pennsylvania immigration judges, asking how they are. Pennsylvania, it's okay there. It's okay. It's better than a lot of places like in the South, like Texas, where we're based, and better than Florida. The approval rate is going to be higher on average. But it's not as good as like being in the New York immigration court or an immigration court in California, for sure. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, Mustafa, I told you I was going to address your question. You said, can I move state/office to appeal after I lost my asylum case? And if I do, can I leave my sons back? Well, Mustafa, can you clarify for me, what do you mean when you lose your asylum case? Do you mean you get a negative decision in the asylum office and you get sent to immigration court? Or are you talking about losing your case in immigration court? Which one are you talking about? Well, look, Mustafa, the answer is yes, you can move. And yes, you can leave your sons behind back in the old place. The only reason that you would not be able to move is if you've had contact with ICE and they have given you a paper that says that you need to get their permission before moving, because they sometimes say that. In that case, I think yes, you should get their permission before moving. But if they've never said that, they never gave you that letter, then yeah, you can move and you can leave your kids back behind. They don't have to stay with you while your case is on appeal or while it's in immigration court. There's no rule that you have to live together. It's fine to leave them back. Okay. All right. We have a question from Vicky Aman Avi says, my question is effect on VAWA case after asylum denied. The question is this. Will the fact that your asylum case got denied have an impact on another case that you might have pending? For example, if you have like a VAWA case pending, or maybe a marriage-based green card case pending, will the fact that you lost your asylum case and got denied negatively impact those other cases? Well, look, it might. It doesn't necessarily, it doesn't formally, like there's no rule that says because you lose asylum, it's like a negative factor in these other cases. It's not like that. However, those officers that do those cases, that adjudicate those cases, they will have access to your asylum materials. They will probably read the notes from the asylum officer. They'll probably read the decision and why you were denied. And if you were denied for credibility reasons, because they spotted a bunch of inconsistencies and thought you were lying, yeah, that can hurt you in those other cases. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily affect any other case, including VAWA, but it could. Okay. Lukog says my parent has an interview tomorrow. Wow, good luck for them. If they want to do a little last minute studying and preparation, I recommend that they go to our YouTube channel. Okay, that's where we've got all of our best stuff. Those of you on TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn, our best stuff is over on YouTube. I've got some really detailed tutorials there that I think are really going to help you to prepare for your interview and to do a great job in your asylum case. The YouTube channel is called Political Asylum Lawyers. Again, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers. So go to YouTube and search Political Asylum Lawyers. What is good luck though to your parents? Okay, Lukaga, I hope they win. If I saw how long does it normally take till you get granted? Do you mean like how long after the interview, or from when the time you apply to the time you get the decision? I mean, yeah, to the time you get approved. Let me know which one you mean. What about Houston, Texas, the approval rate? The question is this. What's the approval rate like in the Houston Asylum office? Look, it's low. We don't know the number because USCIS has not published these statistics in several years. But they're low. Last time the USCIS released these statistics, the national average approval rate was, I think, 28% approval rate after several years ago. And I'm quite positive that they've gone down. The approval rate's gone down a lot since then. And Houston is tough. Houston is one of the harder places to win asylum. I would get, if I had to guess, I would guess Houston's approval rate is probably 20%, would be my guess. That's my guess. It's tough. It's a hard place to win. It's of course not impossible. We keep winning cases there. We win cases there frequently. So it's not impossible. You got to work hard though and present a really strong case. The preparation, how you prepare for your interview, is the most important thing. Okay. All right. Thank you for asking. Over on YouTube, hello YouTube. Good afternoon. Good question. Kent Bummer M says, "Hey Brian, I'm about to have my interview. Are jeans fine, non-ripped?" Yeah, good question. So the question is this: what kind of clothing should you wear to your asylum interview with USCIS? Is it okay to wear things like jeans as long as they're, not ripped and look okay? Honestly, I recommend that you go a little bit nicer. Jeans are okay. They're not, it's the officer's not going to look at you and say, "Oh, how dare you disrespect this process with your jeans." As long as they're clean and decent fitting on you, it's okay. But I do think I would recommend a little bit nicer. I'd recommend like khaki pants. If you have a suit, honestly, I think a suit is the best, to be honest with you. But I would say at least, really, it's better to do like at least khaki pants and like a dress shirt. If you have like a blazer, that would be nice to put over the dress shirt, but like a button-up shirt and with long sleeves, not like this one with long sleeves, button-up shirt and like khaki pants or some kind of sort of dress pants that are a little bit nicer than jeans is, I think, ideal. But jeans are okay. Okay. You just want to show, you want to show like when you dress up for something, you're just showing like respect for it, right? Like that's the whole point of dressing up in our society, right? Is in society in general, is like you're presenting yourself in a certain way, and when we dress up for important events like going to a religious ceremony or church or mosque or whatever, or for anything, for going to a wedding, for going to any special event where nicer attire is expected. It's just kind of expected because it's like the idea is you show respect for the people there and for the process and the thing by dressing up a little bit. And that's how this is. Like you can show respect for the officer and for the process by dressing up a little bit. I think it's worth doing that. Maybe I'm kind of old fashioned in that way as I'm getting old, but older, but Ali Ahmed says on YouTube, "Thank you for your amazing work." Very kind of you, Ahmed. Appreciate you, Ali, taking the time to leave that comment. Thank you. Hey, Yelingong, good to see you. Yelingong says, "Good afternoon. Good to see you here. I'm already one of your clients." Awesome. Yelingong, I'm really glad to see you here too. And I'm glad that you're our client. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for putting your trust in us, because that's a big deal. We know that who you choose as your asylum lawyer is an incredibly important thing. It's a huge decision. And we're thankful that you chose us, and we're going to keep working hard to keep your trust. All right, to earn that trust every day. All right. SAM says, "Hi, our beloved lawyer." That's a nice way to be greeted. Hi, thank you, SAM. I appreciate that. We got Uncle Abdo says, Mr. Bryan, do people having to flee to the USA from Egypt because the government is persecuting and jailing people who criticize the government, do they have a good chance to win asylum? Thank you. Um, look, I'd have to, Uncle Abdo, I'd have to know more about the situation, like what has happened with the person and why they're afraid of being harmed in the future. But I can say this, that yeah, there are successful asylum cases from Egypt that have to do with with political persecution cases where people criticize the government and are harmed or at risk because of that. So it sounds like it could be a decent case, but we'd really have to talk with you in a consultation to see what we think. Okay. You can schedule that consultation with us at winasylum.com. I'm going to put that in the chat now. WINASYLUM.com. Schedule a consultation now. You don't need to wait till this live is over. Just go now. WINASYLUM.com. Please, and schedule the consultation. Okay. Miriam asks, how is the approval rate in Sacramento? It's pretty high. It's good. California's good. Okay. Luke, you said New York City. Nice. The New York is, it depends where your mom's interview is. Is it at the New York, what's called the New York Asylum office, or is it at the Manhattan branch of the Newark office, which is super confusing how that works. But if it's with the Newark office's Manhattan branch, that's better. They have a higher approval rate than the New York Asylum office. Okay. But good luck in any event. All right. Nice. Nice. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Where were we? So, okay, yeah, this is a good question. So, will suing the government make them to deny your case because you shouldn't sue them? Good question. There's a definitive answer that I feel very strongly about for this. The question is this: will suing the government to force your asylum case forward, to force your interview, will it make the government mad at you? Like, could it actually end up hurting your underlying asylum case because they sort of hold this against you? They take it out on you and deny your asylum case because you dared to sue the mighty US government? Look, I completely understand this line of thinking. It makes perfect sense. That reasoning makes sense. But thankfully, the answer is no. I don't think that will happen. I don't think so at all. Look, I say this based on my experience both as a former asylum officer and now as an asylum lawyer whose law firm has filed, I think, probably 200 of these mandamus lawsuits in the last couple of years. I tell you that it will not impact your asylum case. I say that with confidence. Okay, I do not think the officer will hold it against you. I don't. There's a chance they might not even know that you got your asylum interview through a mandamus lawsuit. But even if they do know, I don't think they're going to hold it against you. Okay. Um, it's it's just like you cannot it's just not a negative factor that they can take into account. Okay. It's not something that they can point to justify a negative decision, and it is also understandable that you would do this. I think a lot of them understand that someone in your position would go ahead and do this when you've been waiting for so long. So look, if you've been waiting, we think at 5 years you're in a good position to have success with this mandamus lawsuit. So if you've been waiting 5 or more years, then you should contact us. We love doing this. We love bringing this lawsuit and helping people to get their interviews so they can finally win their case and then move forward with security, with confidence about their future in America. Okay, we love that. Kabul John says, what can I do to inquire after the interview? It's been 9 months. Congressional inquiry says under review. Applied 2 years ago after case was dismissed in immigration court. If I got rejected, can I appeal in court? Well, if let me answer the second question first. If you're Yeah, well, it's not an appeal. If you get denied by USCIS, you don't technically appeal, but assuming that you do not have any other legal status, which you might, I don't know if you have TPS or what, but if you do not have a legal status, and you get a negative decision from USCIS, your case will be sent to immigration court, where you do get another chance. It's technically not an appeal, but you'll get to present your case in court, okay? And the judge will decide whether you win asylum. Now, let me go back to what can you do. This is an interesting situation because, well, I'd be curious to know, when did you originally apply for asylum in court, with the court? How long ago did you file your asylum application? Because if you filed your application 5 years or more ago, I think you might be in a decent position to have success with a mandamus lawsuit. It's a little bit tricky. It's a different scenario than we usually handle, where in your case, you applied and you were in court, and then your case was dismissed, and then you refiled with USCIS. That's kind of a new scenario for the courts, like to look at. I don't know whether it will work, even if you applied with the court 5 years or more ago. I'm not sure whether this will work, whether you'll have success with this kind of mandamus lawsuit, but I think there's a decent chance, there's a decent argument to be made that the judge should consider the entire time that uh, between you originally applying for asylum with the court and now as the time to look at to see whether it's unreasonable to delay in your case. Because look, you did everything, you applied a long time ago. It's the government's fault for taking so long, even though it's different agencies, EOIR with the courts versus USCIS. But I think there's a decent argument to be made that the judge should look at the entirety of that time. Okay. All right. Mo99 says, "Hey Brian, how strong is this case? Christian convert from Saudi Arabia, which is considered a crime by law without past persecution. Can you use baptism certificate and country conditions as evidence?" Good question. The question, well, actually, let me just address it like this. Yeah, it's probably a pretty decent case. Probably a pretty decent case, even without past persecution. But you really have to rely on the country conditions information. And look, I got to tell you, Mo99, it's not enough just to print out 1,000 pages of reports of the Human Rights Report and a bunch of other reports and just throw them at the officer. That's not a good approach. You want to find the best support, and you want to analyze it and discuss it in the context of a legal brief and explain how that helps you to establish the legal requirements for asylum. So that's what we do with our legal briefs. Is part of it is using country conditions information, but we don't just say, "Oh, here you go, officer. Here's a stack of country conditions information. I promise it says that the country's bad, so we should get asylum." No, we use it and we find the very best stuff, and we quote certain things, and we give context, and we talk about it and discuss it, and then we apply it to the law. Okay. So yeah, I think there's a chance to win that case. Okay. Um, Ahmed says, "I'm a former asylee myself, and I help others as an expert with their asylum cases for people from Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries. It's my honor to help to provide pro bono support cases from Saudi." Oh, interesting. That's really nice of you. Karam Dolger says, "Hi, I won my case, and your YouTube channel is a perfect guide that helped me a lot to prepare. I really appreciated you." Thanks so much, Karam Dolger. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on and taking the time to leave that comment. That's awesome. By the way, so listen, for those of you on TikTok and LinkedIn and Facebook, someone on YouTube, Karam Dolger, just said they won their asylum case, and that our YouTube channel, Political Asylum Lawyers, is the perfect guide and help them to prepare. So we get this kind of comment with some frequency because we've got some really detailed training videos on our YouTube channel. Okay, some really detailed tutorials under our playlist about different things you need to know if you want to give yourself the best possible chance to win your asylum case. Okay, you can find our YouTube channel by going to YouTube and searching for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of our law firm, but it's also the name of our YouTube channel. Okay. All right. Imam Hossein Alvi says, "Is the legal brief / declaration written by an attorney a strong supporting document for asylum interview? Also, does every attorney provide this?" Good questions. Let's address the first thing that I want to say is, you said legal brief / declaration. Usually, we're talking about two different things with those words. The legal brief is something that an attorney writes, and a declaration is like what you write, where you're like telling your story. The declaration, I would say, is, well, let me rephrase. Let me address the question. Well, let me address. Yeah, I'm going to address multiple things here. So the question is this: is your declaration that you write in support of your asylum case and like the legal brief that your attorney, hopefully, I hope will write for your case, are those things powerful? Are they really important to your case? And what about evidence? Like if you have documents that sort of back up and support what you're saying, is that helpful? Should you provide that in your asylum case? The answer is sure. Yes, those things are good. Those things can help. Same thing with what we call country conditions information, where it talks about sort of what's going on, the conditions in your country. If it's relevant to your case, then yeah, that can help too. Same with having a lawyer represent you during your asylum interview. That is good too. But look, all of these things that I just listed, they're good and helpful, but they're not the most important thing. Do you know what the most important thing is? The most important thing is what you say on the day of your asylum interview, your testimony. Okay, it's far more important, way more important than any of those other things I listed. And the most important thing you can do to try to win your case is to prepare, to understand what you're up against, to know what you need to achieve with your testimony, and to practice it. To practice it, ideally in the context of a mock asylum interview, a practice asylum interview. We offer this to our clients through a service called the mock asylum interview experience, where we do a 2-hour session that is a full-scale mock interview, followed a day or two or three later by a 30-minute debrief session where we give feedback and we give tips about how to tell your story in a clearer, more impactful way, and just all of our best tips for the asylum interview. And we also we add to that some other sort of additional training, trainings, some video trainings that we think are going to help you to prepare for the interview. So the preparation is the most important by far. Okay. The other question was, does every attorney provide a legal brief? Absolutely not. Good question. Do most immigration lawyers provide a legal brief for an asylum case with USCIS? Absolutely not. I was actually shocked. I was really surprised when I was an asylum officer to see that most immigration lawyers did virtually nothing to really help their client's case. Hardly any of them provided a legal brief. And if they did, it was usually poorly written. But I'll tell you, in the few cases where they did, where I did get a legal brief that was well written, it made a pretty big impact on me. I thought it really helped to move the needle, meaning I thought it could be quite persuasive and helpful for me as the officer to get to understand the case and to just make my job and my life easier. And look, that's one of your main jobs. One of the main things you should focus on is presenting your case in a way that makes the officer's life as easy as possible, that shows them how to get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. And so, yeah, a well done brief by a lawyer can be helpful with this, but no, most lawyers do not do this, unfortunately. Unfortunately, so ask. Look, this is an important thing that you can do. Is you can ask if you're interviewing lawyers. You're thinking about hiring a lawyer. You should ask. Please tell me exactly what you're going to do for me. Like what concrete steps are you going to take to build my case or improve my case? Because most lawyers, I think, honestly, will not be able to tell you. They'll just be like, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll do legal work. We'll make it better. We'll get you ready. Don't worry about it." And if you ask them, like, well, what about the preparation for the interview? Because I've heard that's important. They'll say, something like, "Don't worry. We'll meet up together like 15 minutes before the interview, and I'll tell you then, what to expect, and it'll be fine. Don't worry." That is wholly insufficient. You need a plan, all right? If you're working with a lawyer who cannot tell you what their actual concrete plan is to help you pursue your case and win your case, you've got a problem, okay? You need a plan to pursue and to build your asylum case and present your asylum case. So your lawyer should be able to tell you in detail what steps they're going to take. We have a framework called our asylum action plan that we use as a framework for each case. Of course, it's different a little bit for every single case depending on the circumstances, but it's a framework that we use where we have an actual plan for pursuing an asylum case, and we have an actual routine that we do that we've developed over the 5 years we've had my law firm, but also based on the 11 years that I worked for the government's two main agencies for refugee and asylum affairs and everything that I learned. Speaking of, this Friday, no, not this Friday, this Thursday, meaning tomorrow, Thursday, August 14th, um, at, I think it's 4 p.m. Let me check my calendar. Hold on. Keep getting this date messed up. Tomorrow, yeah, at 4 p.m. Central Time. 4 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Um, we are we're doing a live training, a special live training that is called 50 Insider Perspectives to have a great asylum, to ace your asylum interview. It's basically 50 things that I learned over the course of my 11 years working for the government's two main agencies for refugee and asylum matters, um, that I think are going to help you to do a great job at your asylum interview. Because look, the asylum interview is the most important aspect of the case. It's much more important than your documents. It's much more important than having a lawyer there with you. The what you say is the most important thing, and the preparation for your interview is therefore the most important thing that you can do to maximize your chances for asylum success. And tomorrow, Thursday, August 14th, I'm doing a special training about 50 tips, 50 insider perspectives that I developed over my 11 years working for the government's two main agencies for refugee and asylum matters. So join us for that. But look, it's not going to work on TikTok. TikTok, I'm going to do a presentation, like I have like a slideshow, and it doesn't show up correctly on TikTok. So you need to go to YouTube. So at 4 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow on Thursday, I want you to go to YouTube and join me for this presentation. Okay, this live. It's called 50 Insider Perspectives to Ace Your Asylum Interview. Okay, 4 p.m. tomorrow Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. The YouTube channel is called Political Asylum Lawyers. Again, Political Asylum Lawyers is the name of the YouTube channel. All right, back to the questions. Nice. Clarence Jean-Jacques says, is it okay to mention something in your interview that you did not mention in your statement? Very good and very important question. And the question is this: is it okay for you to talk about things in your interview that you might not have mentioned in your application form, your asylum application form, or your declaration that you submitted? Yes, it's okay. And yes, you should do it if they're responsive to the question being asked, and you should try to find a way to offer them, even if you're not directly asked about it, but it's relevant and helpful to your case. So look, it happens all the time that people will not discuss an event like an incident of harm or threats that is relevant to their case, that they'll leave it out and not explicitly talk about it in their application or their declaration because either they forgot about it or they just thought they did, they were just trying to talk about some of the main things. And there's this other thing though that they just didn't list. Yes, you should still talk about it in the interview. Now you need to be ready to answer the question, well, why didn't you include this earlier in your declaration or your application? And just think about what the reason for that is and give a straight, honest answer. And you should be fine. Look, if there's like tons of super important things that you left out that you then talk about at the interview, it could be problematic. But I still think it's better to, yes, include those things just to tell the truth, the whole truth, the full truth about your case, rather than to say, well, I didn't say it in my declaration, so I better ignore it. I better pretend that thing didn't happen and not talk about it in my interview. No, I don't like that approach. I like the tell the truth, the whole truth, everything that is responsive to the question being asked and helpful to your case. Well, I should say responsive to the question being asked or helpful to your case. Both things you need to do. Yeah, you should still talk about it. Okay. All right. I see, Clarence. I see you're working both on YouTube and TikTok. Don't spam don't spam us on TikTok, please. All right. Thank you. Okay. Very good. Very good. He said, sorry. Thank you. Uh, oh, you said this yesterday or a couple of days ago that the officer did not read your statement before the interview. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's not that uncommon. Well, it's uncommon, but it happens. Let me say that. Usually they read your declaration, but sometimes they're just overwhelmed and just don't have time, and they just are trying to do everything they can to just get through the day as quickly as possible because they're overwhelmed. It's a hard job, you guys. Being an asylum officer is hard. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of there's a lot of work, there's a lot of pressure, and dealing with asylum applicants can be stressful because you guys are stressed out, right? Because of what you've been through in your country and because of the stressful environment that you're facing now in the United States. It's like everyone's just stressed. It's hard. Okay. So, yeah, it's a hard job. That's all the more reason that you should try to make their life easy. All the more reason that you should try to present a straightforward, clean, clear case and present it clearly. Okay, to give them a roadmap for how to get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. Okay, that's what we do through our asylum action plan for our clients, and we train our clients to uh, to be ready to present their case in a clear, compelling way with their testimony at the time of their interview. And the key way, the main way that we do that is through the mock asylum interview experience. That is actually, it's actually kind of new that we're offering this as a standalone service, because we offer this to our clients who hire us, to like help with their case in general, like more broadly. But we just started offering this recently as a standalone service, just the preparation, because we realized that a lot of people want and need help with the preparation, which is the most important thing in their case. But maybe there's not time, or maybe they don't have the resources to hire us for the broader representation. We thought, well, what could we do that would still help them in the biggest way, the most impactful way? And it's this. It's what we call the mock asylum interview experience, where we're going to do intensive interview preparation with you. Okay, because that's the most important thing in your whole case, is how you do in your testimony, and you can prepare for that. You can practice and you can improve in telling your story clearly and in an impactful way, and avoiding problems. And we do that through interview training, through what we call the mock asylum interview experience. Okay. Um, Misha Benz KZ says, "Hi, Brian. Thank you, as always, for everything you do. What's the latest statistics on how long it takes for the results after the interview? Thanks in advance." Um, there are no statistics on this, or at least not publicly available ones. But I can just tell you, generally how it works. I mean, the question is this: how long does it usually take to get your decision after your asylum interview with USCIS? Look, if they tell you at the end of your interview, if they tell you to come back in 2 weeks and pick it up in person, then good, you know that like you're going to get it in 2 weeks. Unless sometimes they call you before then and say, actually, don't come back, don't come here, we're going to mail it to you. So if they're going to mail it to you, it's going to be at least 2 weeks. It's probably going to be several more than that. But honestly, it may be quite a few more. Maybe it may honestly be a lot more. Um, it could be several months. Honestly, it could even be years. If you get to like a month and you haven't gotten it, I recommend reaching out to the asylum office and just being like, by email, just being like, hey, um, could you please see if the officer needs anything from me in order to conclude my case, to make a decision? By the way, do you think you might be able to let me know when I could expect to receive that decision? I would say something like that. It doesn't usually help, but every once in a while it does spur them to like, oh yeah, let's actually pick up this case and finish it off, do the processing we need to do the decision and get it out the door. Uh, and if you've been waiting for if you applied for asylum 5 years or more ago, then you're in a pretty good position to sue them to force them to give you that decision. Because the mandamus lawsuit that I love talking about, because it works really, really well, is used not just for purposes of forcing an interview. That's usually how we use it, but we can also use it, and we do also use it to force a decision after an interview. If you applied for asylum 5 years or more ago, then we think you're in a good position to have success with forcing the decision through the mandamus lawsuit. Okay. Okay. Uh, can an asylee without parole marry a U.S. citizen while having a pending case in the court? So when you say asylee, but you mean you're seeking asylum in immigration court, you have an application pending, probably Hajia. I'm guessing is what you mean. Um, can you marry a U.S. citizen? Of course you can marry them. Are you asking whether you can, get a green card through them? The answer is yes. It's possible. It's it's kind of tough, especially if you're already in immigration court proceedings. When you get married to that U.S. citizen, then they kind of assume that you did it for immigration purposes, and there's like a higher bar. You have to do more to convince them. Like, oh no, it's not really. You have to do more to convince them it's a real marriage. I promise, not based on immigration. So it's a little bit harder, but it's not impossible. Okay. All right. He said, Hajia says yes. So yeah, thank you for clarifying. Cool. Uh, all right. From SCLA says hello with a nice hand wave. Hello from SCLA. Good to see you on YouTube. Thanks for being here. Is there a risk for someone who entered on a tourist visa and applied for asylum within the first 3 months? Is there a risk in terms of overstaying or being considered illegal from ICE? Um, all right, good question. The question is this: are you at high risk of arrest and potentially deportation by ICE if you've got an asylum case pending with USCIS? Let's say you came here on a tourist visa, you applied for asylum before your tourist status expired, but now you've been here for a while waiting for your interview, so your tourist status expired a long time ago. But you've had your asylum claim pending, since before that status expired. Are you at risk for arrest? I think the risk is probably pretty low. Okay. If you don't have current lawful immigration status, then you're always at some risk. But people who came on a visa several years ago and have their asylum claim pending, I think you're at low risk, assuming you don't have any criminal history. I think you're actually, I'll even say very low. I think you're at very low risk. So honestly, I think you should not really worry about it. Well, look, I think you should make some contingency plans. I think everyone who doesn't have permanent legal status here should make contingency plans about what to do and what happens if they get arrested. But after you do that, then I think you should try not to worry about it. Okay. That's what I think. Um, Let me know what questions you have. Leave your questions in the comment about winning asylum in America. For those of you who joined recently, I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with USCIS, but now, as an asylum lawyer, well, my law firm helps immigrants from all over the country, all over, to secure their future in America through asylum. And look, if you want to talk with us and see if we think we might be in a position to help you with your asylum case, then I want you to go schedule a consultation right now. You don't need to wait. You don't need to wait till the show is over. Just go right now to winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. Again, it's winasylum.com. Okay? Winasylum.com. Alrighty. Let's see what's going on over back on YouTube. Hey, YouTube. I'm from Ethiopia. Biniam says, is the country eligible based on the current conditions? It doesn't really work like that. Like there's no countries that are eligible for asylum and others that are not. Every country is potentially eligible for one of their citizens to get asylum from there. Even in Europe, like even Northern Europe, even in Scandinavia, which is like more democratic and free and open than the United States, I've even seen people get asylum from those countries. It's rare, it's hard to do, but it's not impossible. So the answer is yes, it's definitely possible to get asylum from Ethiopia. Whether you have a good chance for it, I'd have to talk with you. We'd have to do a consultation. You'd have to tell us a lot about your situation. Look, the consultation with us is detailed. This is not a 10 to 15-minute little chat where we just sort of talk a little bit with each other. No, we're going to have a lot of questions for you. We really want to get to know you and your situation, your case. We need to understand it really well. And then if we think that we're in a position to help you, we're going to tell you how, like concretely what the exact steps are that we're going to take to give you the best possible chance of winning your case. And this takes time. Our consultations last almost an hour, 50 minutes, 50 minutes, nearly an hour. Okay. It's pretty intensive, honestly. Okay. Baba Musa says, hey, Brian, how long in advance should your attorney file your case with all supporting documents? Baba, do you mean like supporting documents after you've already applied for asylum, or you mean when should they apply for asylum? I assume you mean supporting documents after applying. Let's address. I'm gonna address it like this. How long before your asylum interview should you submit your supporting documents? Like if you, let's say you applied for asylum by submitting the application, but you didn't submit at that time, like a declaration or evidence or legal brief from your lawyer, things like that. When do you need to submit that stuff? Well, look, I would say definitely, well, ideally 1 week before, ideally at least a week before the asylum interview takes place. Usually, honestly, it's okay in most asylum offices if it's closer to the asylum interview. And honestly, in a lot of places, it's okay to do it to bring the documents on the day of the interview. But there is some risk with that. And the main risk is that, or the risk is that if it's a lot, then the officer may say, well, okay, if you want me to consider these documents, then I'm going to have to reschedule the interview because I need time. It's going to take me hours to go through and read these documents. So if you want me to include them in your case, then we're going to have to reschedule the interview, which is not good. Usually, I think that you want to get your interview done as quickly as possible. I think the sooner you have your interview, the better your chances for success. Okay. All right. What questions? Let me know in the comments what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. Okay. Nice. All right. All right. Good afternoon. Ooh, Lynn says, how do I rectify the wrong uploading of documents? Interesting question. Good question, though. The question is this. What do you do if you uploaded the wrong documents to your My USCIS portal for your asylum case with the asylum office? Look, if you uploaded the wrong version of your documents for your case, or you just uploaded like the wrong document entirely, like you uploaded something that has nothing to do with your asylum case, whatever the case may be, if you don't want the asylum office to consider it, then I recommend that you write a letter and upload another letter that explains, hey, I accidentally uploaded the wrong thing. Here's what happened. Please do not consider it. It was a mistake. You don't need to look at it, and I ask that you please not consider it as part of my case. I wish to withdraw and retract this particular document labeled this that I uploaded on this date at this time. Okay, that's what I recommend. Alrighty. Uh, all right. That is going to be it for this afternoon. I'm Brian Manning, and it's an honor to support you in your asylum journey. And I want to remind you that tomorrow, Thursday, August 14th, I'm going to be live doing a special presentation about 50 insider perspectives. I say insider meaning they're perspectives and tips that I developed thanks to my experience working for 11 years for the government's two main immigration agencies for asylum and refugee affairs, including working as an asylum officer with USCIS. I'm going to share with you in this training 50, I think, unique perspectives and tips that are really going to help you with your asylum interview. This training is all about the asylum interview because, look, that's the most important part of the case. That's the most important thing that you should be focusing on to try to give yourself the best possible chance to win your case is how you perform at your interview. And there's a lot that you can do to prepare for that. There's a lot you can do to practice for that to improve your chances for asylum success. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow, Thursday, August 14th at 4 p.m. Central and 5 p.m. Eastern. So again, Thursday, August 14th, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central and 5 p.m. Eastern time for this special training. But look, it's not going to work on TikTok or LinkedIn. You got to go to Facebook or YouTube. I recommend going to YouTube to see this. Okay. I think it's going to be really good. I think you're going to like it. Okay. So go to YouTube. The YouTube channel where you can find this is called Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm, and it's the name of our YouTube channel as well. It's called Political Asylum Lawyers. Go to YouTube and search for that and join us tomorrow for the special training, okay? All right, guys. that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you for being here. It's really a pleasure to engage with all of you asylum seekers. I wish you all the best. Have a great night, and hope to see you in that training tomorrow on YouTube.